We are about to see Yuta's secret deadly curse techniques in his own domain expansion against Sukuna, and Sukuna in response will activate his shrine. He will pull out the flames and every curse technique he has to eviscerate Yuta. And this is beside the fact that Yuji will actually interact with Sukuna and Megumi's soul, and Maki will attempt to assassinate Sukuna in JJK 250. There's a lot to talk about for this prediction video, so let's just get right into it. Be sure to leave a like, it helps out a ton, thank you. And of course, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe for a ton of consistent and quality JJK content just like this. Less than 10% of people who actually watch my videos are subscribed. So if you love JJK, I promise you will not regret subscribing. And of course, thank you to the special members of the channel. It is always much appreciated. Now let's get right into this JJK 250 prediction video. And there's actually 5 characters in particular I want to talk about, 3 of which are guaranteed to do something insane next chapter, 2 of which is a possibility, and I really do think one of them might be the final page of 250. So the first character we're going to talk about is Yuta. Of course, he's going to go absolutely insane in the coming chapter. Right now, we're inside of his domain expansion. His sure hit is currently keeping Sukuna preoccupied, and he's got unlimited access to all of his curse techniques with no restrictions in his badass domain, all-encompassing, unequivocal love with swords scattered everywhere. It looks amazing, and he's currently, at least last chapter, he was whooping Sukuna's ass. Let's see how long that lasts for, because it is Sukuna at the end of the day, and he still does have his world-cutting slashes, so if he does push Sukuna too far, who knows what Sukuna will do. But as for what I predict from Yuta this chapter, what I hope is that we actually get to see a ton of curse techniques that we never got to saw. The reason I'm assuming he has a lot of curse techniques that we didn't get to see is because against Ryu and Uro, he wasn't trying to kill them, and I do believe he was going all out. I'm not one of those Yuta fans who says he was holding back tremendously. No, he was going all out in terms of physical stats, trying to beat them, trying to knock them out, and not holding back. But I do believe he was not using some specific curse techniques to not kill them, because unlike Kuroushi and Jirove, he had to kill those two because those two were an active danger to all civilians, whereas with Uro and Ryu, as he spoke to them and found out, no, they are actually just regular people and they aren't actually actively hunting civilians, and he also needed their points, so that was the reason too. And that was the only time he used his 5 minutes, so if he does have any extremely lethal curse techniques, such as curse techniques more akin to Cleaviness Mantle that are just lethal and guaranteed kills, he wouldn't have used it in that moment. So not only would this be a good chance to see what he has here, but it could also be a chance to see a ton of other curse techniques that maybe he's collected over the past month. So one of them could be Granite Blast. It could be really cool to see Sukuna just hit by a full-powered Granite Blast. I'm sure that would do a lot of damage to Sukuna, because not only is a full-powered Granite Blast, but it's also amped by the domain. Do remember, you actually get a buff inside of a domain, everyone does, as Gojo actually said against Jogo, and we saw Megumi at the bare minimum got 120% buff. Some other curse techniques I'd love to see is Inumaki's curse technique. For example, let's say he's carrying 2 swords, one sword actually hits Sukuna and tells him to stop moving, so they can hit him with another curse technique with another sword in his hand, and Sukuna can't guard against it. It would hit him point blank. Maybe we'd get to see Gojo's curse technique, because if he's copied Angel's curse technique, why hasn't he copied Gojo's curse technique? There's no reason why he wouldn't have done that as well. So maybe he hits Sukuna with a blue or a red or even a hollow purple. That would be insane. Maybe that's too powerful. Maybe we won't get a hollow purple, but at least a red would do big damage to Sukuna, or maybe even Hakari's curse technique. Let's say Sukuna does a lot of damage to Yuta, he actually gets a sword and stabs himself with it, and it actually heals him, kind of like the pseudo spins that Hakari got where it temporarily just resurrects him. It would fully heal Yuta. This one I'm not too sure about because it's a domain guaranteed hit. It's not really a curse technique, but at the end of the day, maybe there's a roundabout way that he can get it. It's GEGE. If he really wanted to do it, he could, and that would be really cool to see. Now, as for Sukuna, I do expect him to still be on the back foot this chapter. I do think he'll be pushing back, maybe even get a couple good hits on Yuta, but he will be pressed quite a lot, and I think the most important part for Sukuna will come at the end of the chapter, where he will have to do one of 2 things. He will either summon his shrine, which many theorize to be his true curse technique, which we still haven't seen yet, which is a storage curse technique, which is what he used in Shibuya to open the black box and accesses of the curse techniques such as the flames. So maybe at the end of the chapter it would end with that, with him saying open and the flames come out, or he will actually get his domain expansion at the end of the chapter. Let's say he's losing, maybe Yuta's really pushing him far because Yuji's there too and Riku will be there, and then he just says perfect, my domain expansion is back just as the plot requires it, and he says domain expansion, malevolent shrine. These are my 2 biggest predictions for Sukuna. I don't know if he'd use the world ending slash, not because he can't, I do believe he can, but would he be pushed that far? Because at the end of the day, Sukuna does still want to have some fun. He is really holding back, because if he truly wanted to, he could just go max output, bloodlusted, and try to kill them. Not to say that he's not going serious, just he's clearly enjoying himself and not going too hard on Yuta, Yuji, and everyone else. So of course, if Yuta pushes him too far, we may see the world cutting slashes if Sukuna wants to, because Kusakabe theorizes that there's a binding Varo condition, so he can't always use it, but that's just Kusakabe's theory, and we have seen specifically Kusakabe be very wrong about situations, as when he says, oh, Gojo's won, there's no way he loses, literally gets one shot off screen the next page. So I'm gonna take it with a grain of salt, and remember, while he was fighting Kashimo, we literally see him use the world-ending slash very casually. There was no sacrifice of anything. At most, it seemed like maybe there was a build-up because he did have to say the chants. If that's the only binding vow, then yeah, it's looking pretty grim, but I'm really banking on the shrine and domain expansion theory, at least for the end of the chapter, because that would be such a great way to end it. This gets into my third person, the one that is not that likely to show up, but still, I want to throw it out there because I really like it. So if it happens, that's really cool. If it doesn't, we'll see her eventually, and it's for Maki. Remember, while she was fighting Naoya, she was completely invisible inside of a domain, at least until she did her first attack. And this goes double for inside of Yuta's domain. It's not like Sukuna's domain where it's an open one. In Yuta's domain, she could literally be in here right now. She could have probably been in here in chapter 249, and we have no idea. She is completely invisible, and this is beside the fact that she can't actually be sensed. So it's not only the fact that she can't be sensed, it's like she's got extra camouflage on top of that. Now, it's always possible that Sukuna prepped for Maki, because remember, she did kind of catch him off guard when they fought against each other in chapter 214 and 15, so maybe he actually realized, alright, I gotta prepare for her because I can't sense her, she might try to sneak attack me at any time. That could be a possibility, let's not forget about that, but it's the fact that it's not just that she's camouflaged normally, she's got extra camouflage on top of her. It's like she's hiding inside and outside of the domain. The domain is covering her, so that may be too much for Sukuna. My prediction for Maki is that she was actually waiting for this moment for Yuta to activate his domain expansion, if it did come to that point, which was why she was not involved in the Higuruma section, and she was not involved in the Kenjaku section either, specifically for this moment to truly make Sukuna forget that she exists. And while Sukuna is being pressed, let's say at the end of the chapter Sukuna is about to activate Shrine, or even better, if he's about to activate his domain expansion, he says domain expansion malevolent, he gets cut off because out of nowhere Maki slices his arms off, or potentially even just hits him in a vital spot like she did with Naoya, or cuts his head off even. I don't think she'd cut his head off. I mean, even if she does, maybe Sukuna has a way of resurrecting. We've seen Sukuna come back from crazier things, but it is an attack from not only a cursed tool, but also specifically a soul attack, so I doubt she'd go for that because it would just kill him, and the plot can't have Sukuna die right now. It's not like Maki's gonna kill Sukuna now and that's the end. Let's keep it real. Like I said before, maybe cut his arms off as he's about to activate domain expansion or shrine, or just hit him in a vital spot. She just stabs him straight in the heart, or maybe cuts a limb off and does major damage to Ryoma and Sukuna at the end of the chapter, and that could be the cliffhanger. Or it could even happen midway through the chapter. Regardless, there's gotta be a reason why Maki hasn't shown up yet. This would be a very valid reason, a very good reason, if she was just waiting for Yuta to show up so Yuta can activate his domain. Now, the last two characters I want to talk about go hand in hand. It is Yuji and Megumi. Yuji got some hype at the end of the current chapter where Sukuna says, oh, he's actually got a role because he's ripping my soul apart. You know, he's actually affecting my soul and trying to split me and Megumi. Because Yuji can do that now with each of his punch, as we've discussed before in the Yuji has a soul curse technique video. I do think Yuji's gonna land some blows on Sukuna, at least one, and maybe we'll get to see Sukuna shake up some more. Maybe we're gonna see more effects on Sukuna, right? But I actually think possibly we may see Megumi, and we actually may get a POV inside of Megumi and see Megumi shaken up, or maybe Megumi notices, or we see Megumi still frozen in that fetal position. He's actually got the Mahoraga summon on him still, always trying to summon Mahoraga. Of course, Megumi, stay true to who you are, never change, we love you for that. But maybe Megumi actually begins to move after a punch from Yuji. That would be pretty cool. Maybe it's not a lot, maybe it's just a slight inch, like maybe just a couple centimeters just for one of his hands, but that actually may concern Sukuna, and Sukuna may begin to take things more seriously when he sees that happen. And remember, if Megumi can become more and more free, he can actually actively nerf Sukuna, as we saw during the Yuji and Maki versus Sukuna fight. So the more damage that Yuji does to Sukuna's soul, the more it actively nerfs him. Not even including the fact that Yuji may have other curse techniques. I've made whole videos on it, such as blood manipulation, the death painting abilities. I hope we get to see some blood manipulation, but if not, at least some soul curse technique. Maybe he can do more with the soul, you know? Getting to see a Megumi POV, that would be great, and more than enough for me as someone who's a big fan of both Yuji and Megumi. Megumi's more similar to Maki. I actually think he's even less likely to be seen than Maki, but I do hope we get to see him because we haven't even seen him since we actually saw him get hit by Kojo's Unlimited Void 5 times, so I hope he's doing alright and not brain cooked from all those Unlimited Voids. But if you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like, it helps out a ton. Thank you, and of course, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe for a ton of consistent and quality JJK content just like this. Like I said in the beginning, less than 10% of people who actually watch my videos are subscribed, so if you love JJK, I promise you, you will not regret subscribing. And of course, thank you to all the channel members as well. It is always much appreciated. That's all from me. Have a great day, everyone, and take care.